Okay, so I've been on a Star Trek kick to the point where I literally have the Star Trek Online open on Steam, ready to play.
We tried to play last night.
Yeah, we tried to play on Xbox One, but
there's a long tutorial.
Wow.
Yeah,
I was on it for like 3 hours getting to the tutorial.
Oh my god.
So, and I'm thinking I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna do that because I'm sort of I'm close to gnawing on my arm because I just want to keep playing the game, but I can't because I have to bank episode. I have like 4 episodes banked so far of Star Trek Evolution.
Okay. Just gonna like shotgun it all in one day or something?
No, I want to do an alt character.
Oh, okay.
But I remembered that there's a new Star Trek series coming out, or miniseries coming out, called The Q Conundrum, where it's the TOS. It's basically TOS, TNG, and Voyager crew.
I should probably say, for those who don't know, and I'm going to do a really bad job, Al, you could probably pick up the slack. Q was like a member of the ship. I think he was in engineering?
Oh no, Q wasn't.
No, Q was like an interdimensional guy.
He's based.
I don't know why. I always thought he was a member of the ship, and then he got like that interdimensional and became like a kind of Marvel DC like member of like the tribunal type of thing.
No, he's
more like Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Yeah, he's like Star Trek's Mxyzptlk. He shows up in Deep Space Nine. He shows up.
I remember him in Voyager a lot.
Well, it's also because he's like a big time character actor that played him.
Yeah, John Delancey.
Yeah, he also I know him because he voices Discord in the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic cartoon, and he's essentially the same character as Q.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, isn't it? It's him that's in Breaking Bad, though, right? That's Jessica Jones's father.
I
think so.
Off the top of my head, I'll do a quick Google.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's only in like one episode. He's only in that one episode, but I'm pretty sure that that's him. And by Jessica Jones, I mean Kristen Ritter. But like, I'm pretty sure he plays her father.
But as I was trying to build up the story before you
rudely interrupted for some
and just made the whole gestalt.
Just be honest.
Just self-destruct. I've been reading, because since I subscribed to the Q Conundrum miniseries, I subscribed to the new Captain Marvel series, mainly because of John posting about it.
This is the Captain Marvel or the Ms. Marvel?
Captain Marvel.
Okay.
And based on that's it, thumbnail or the logo for the book or the cover, it looks good. But all that aside, I've been reading there was a Star Trek series right after, or a couple of years after Star Trek 09, so 2011, and it ran from then after to right at like a couple of years after Inner Darkness, which is a real shame because that movie was terrible.
Oh, I still have not seen the third one.
It is a love letter to Star Trek.
It's good. I mean, like I
like James Wan, so I have to see it.
And the thing is, you don't have to know anything about Star Trek to like it.
And that's where you get me.
Yeah, I don't I haven't watched a whole lot of like the TV shows, and like most of my knowledge about Star Trek is through like osmosis and the films.
Yeah, like Beam Me Up,
So,
Scotty,
well,
Energize.
and so, I mean, like I know like a little bit more than that, but like
Just from being a nerd.
I guess,
Yeah.
but like what I
No.
didn't like about Into Darkness was, I liked the first Star Trek, and then they do this movie that's basically like this, it's them doing Wrath of Khan, but like none of these characters have any emotional like
Ties to Khan?
attachment.
Yeah.
So it's like, why should I care? Like, because it's like these characters don't have any emotional connection to this character
Yeah.
or any of this.
This is kind of funny because I actually watched Wrath of Khan, the original one, during the like Christmas time with my mother-in-law. I was like, this movie is ridiculous, but goddamn, is it like awesome because everyone's just acting at a 12.
But what I thought was like really cool about Star Trek Beyond was it's what I kind of imagined would have been like a 2-hour long episode, where it's like everyone is like splintered off and doing their own thing, so you get to see like a lot of characters interacting with other characters who necessarily hadn't had a whole lot of like together time like throughout the series, so you kind of get to see these odd pairings, and it was super fun.
Yeah, that sounds much more like the actual TV show.
Also, unlike the other two, the first two not the first two series, first two movies, there's a badass female character,
Oh, because one of the aliens, right?
Jayla, who was created for the movie.
Yeah, their design was like awesome looking.
And the way they did a poster for it that was it was basically Kirk, Spock, and Jayla in the middle, and it was said it looked a lot like the Star Trek motion picture poster.
Mm.
And then Paramount couldn't get access to 66% of it, or a bunch of capital, and couldn't afford Chris Pine or Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, the idea for that story would have been so interesting. Like Kirk and his dad meeting in like some weird timeline. It's very like, to kind of tie back to comics, it's very the Button with Bruce and oh my god, Thomas.
Yeah.
Meeting.
But there's a big downside to this whole series, like a stigma. The guy it's since it's set in the Kelvin timeline, there had to be a supervisor or supervising or like a creative consultant, and it's Robert Orci, who co-wrote the first two Star Trek movies with Alex Kurtzman, who's in charge of Discovery and all the future all-access Star Trek shows. And
Cool.
no, not really.
Oh.
Orci is a 9/11 truther. Yeah, when I told this to when I just tried to casually dropped it along with in like a big wall of text while I was just gushing about how great that book is. And then I just said, "Oh, and there's an 9/11 truther involved."
Yeah, but that's one of those things where you can separate the art from the artist. Like if the work is still good, as long as as long as like no one's being physically harmed, or you know what I mean, type thing.
Yeah,
like I can kind of deal with it. Like I think it goes back to one of the things we talked about a couple episodes ago when we were talking about the oh man, what was that comic that you had suggested to me? And then like days later, we talked about it. John Connor, we talked about it. It was the one where the writer got Me Too'd really bad.
Oh,
Border Town.
Border Town, yes. Yeah. Like, that's a different story.
I don't know that story, but I imagine it's a pretty big one.
Yeah, well, that book is now canceled, but like, yeah, that was a bad story. We went over it, I think, a couple episodes ago.
Yeah,
but
not only was that book canceled, but like the 2 issues of Nightwing he was supposed to write are like now shelved.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Which
All
that's a book that's in like a weird place as well.
You don't say.
Okay, so back to the story.
Yes.
It's when I was first borrowing I borrowed the first 6 volumes from Comixology Unlimited, and I noticed that there was on the Comixology website there was a mention of Q showing up in the series,
Q.
and it said also characters from Star Trek lore. So they pretty much had me at lore. Not even Star Trek lore, just lore, the word. And man, it is very fan service. Because the first face you see, or the first character you see is Picard.
I feel like we're gonna get a lot of Picard in everything because that other show is coming soon.
Yeah, the revival.
Yeah.
Which is a weird concept.
I'm not mad about it. I don't think anybody is mad about
Yeah,
it.
I think it's going to be just a holistic fun. At least
No. There is one person mad about it, and that's Morris Hurley.
I have no idea who that is, so it doesn't matter.
He is someone he was basically the showrunner for the first 2 seasons of Star Trek Next Generation.
Okay.
But
was he not asked about anything?
Well, he had no background in science fiction, like television or anything. He was a writer for Miami Vice.
Oof.
And Equalizer.
Miami Vice ain't bad.
For the 80s.
I'm talking about that. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's not sci-fi, so it's like a weird. But again, like you could say the same thing about. You kind of say the same thing about James Wan doing the third Star Trek movie.
I was just gonna say the same thing, like the
Fast and
Furious guy doing a Star Trek movie and then did Aquaman. It's like, I mean, you know,
well, he did Fast and Furious.
I thought his Star Trek movie was just a lot of fun.
I think it's like I think it's like you get typecasted within a thing. Like Mel, like I brought this up before, but Mel Brooks, you know, is known for doing all these really great comedies, but like that guy also bankrolled a ton of horror films that, like through his like other production company, because
I think
he loved doing horror, but like if he did horror, like people would just automatically assume it's like, oh, Mel Gibson's going to be a comedy. It's like, you know, he wasn't allowed to be able to do so.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because you said Mel Gibson instead of Mel Brooks in the
Yeah.
last part.
Oh,
I was
like, what?
No, it's still funny to be like, well, yeah. Who is also somebody that's, even though it's again separating artists from art, like as crazy as he is, goddamn can Mel Gibson put a movie together.
I didn't mean to bring up Mel Gibson, but it's like the idea that it's like that there are like people, like, you know, there's also this really, you know, kind of famous story about Walt Disney watching To Kill a Mockingbird and him loving it and kind of lamenting he could never make a film like that because he's Disney.
Well, it's look at Jordan Peele.
Yeah, Jordan Peele, the Key and Peele guy doing horror, and it's like, oh, he's like one
the king of horror.
He's like one of the most. Well, like he's like one of the most important voices, at least in horror right now.
He's going to be hosting The Twilight Zone. He has like 1 or 2 more like horror thriller movies on the horizon.
Us just had the trailer come out on the 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So I do think
So basically, I just wanted to bring that up to basically be like a guy can write a show for like Miami Vice and still do sci-fi.
although I'm trying to remember.
I've heard that first season of Next Generation is not great. And
Yeah,
it's
that's what
not
I was gonna say. Like,
hard.
I do remember that those are not the best part of Next Gen. Back when Patrick Stewart still had the hair on the side.
yeah.
Dude needs to have like a full cue ball. He just needs to be like perfectly waxed all the way around. Like you're ready to just hit him into a perfect like set of billiard balls.
What's interesting, and I just like realized it in this moment, Patrick Stewart might be like the new like nerddom patriarch. Like, is there anybody in nerd culture that's older than him?
Ian McKellen.
Well,
Yeah.
they're like a pair though.
Yeah, they're best friends. As far
They're
as the
best
internet's
friends.
concerned.
They do a ton of stuff together.
Yeah,
And they
best
kind of
friends.
have
As I put my glasses down and be like, yeah, they're choice friends.
Oh yes.
They're choice friends.
Well, it's hard to tell because they're British.
Yes, quite.
Oh no, they're not. They're not the nerd patriarch. Tom Baker.
Debatable.
I mean, they have their hands in more pies.
Like, I would say, okay, before them it was obviously Stan, and I would say the other person would have been, oh my god, Adam
Jack?
West.
Oh,
Like, they were the two big, like, that would be like those two guys don't do cons is the only difference. Not
Yeah.
yet. I don't think they ever will because I think they made too much money. But like the guys that like you wouldn't be surprised if they showed up at a Comic-Con though, like to do something. Like, I don't think I would be surprised if they showed up at San Diego in some weird costume, like to do a prank video. Like, it would be amazing, but I wouldn't be super surprised or blown away.
It's their type of move.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's what I mean by like a patriarch kind of thing.
Yeah.
okay. Back to the story.
Wrap around.
Okay, I'll do speed. I'll just do it. Comics done quick. Q basically shows up and does his magic, and him and Kirk are talking on the outside or in space, on literally standing on the like literally standing on the Enterprise. And he talks about Kirk not believing in no-win scenarios. And he snaps his fingers. And they're at Deep Space Nine.
Oh.
And then the next part of the chat. I only read the first two parts, or the first two issues of the volume. Because Q took the Enterprise and the crew out of the timeline, everything that the Enterprise, all Kirk's heroics, or all the Enterprise heroics, never happened. So the whole Dominion War ended up going in favor of the Dominion. So they have control of DS9, and Gold Ducat, who's seen in the DS9 pilot Emissary, parts 1 and 2. who's a Cardassian for those who don't know.
He's
Oh,
a
he's
Kardashian?
one of the 15 different Kardashians. Thank you, Lou.
No.
You beat me to the punch.
Yeah,
I had to
running
unmute
there.
quickly. I was chewing food as fast as I could.
Cardassian.
Okay.
Okay.
So is there Kanye?
Where's Kylie?
I'm sorry, Alan. We keep
Okay,
interrupting
please go on. I haven't done a podcast in like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
I have all this energy.
Can I put an image in your head that won't leave?
Absolutely.
Because I just kept thinking of
terrible baby.
Q Kardashian, so just like Q, but with a Kardashian butt.
Oh my god!
no!
Photoshop him like onto that Kardashian, the milk one, the champagne bottle.
Oh my god!
Okay,
sorry. Please go on.
So Kirk ends up in the brig of DS9, of the station, and either Scotty or Uhura says that there's other people in there, and out walks the most badass captain there ever was, Benjamin Sisko.
You lost me.
He's the captain, the black captain, the only black captain in
Oh,
the history
okay.
of Star Trek TV.
Yeah, okay. I know who it is now. I never remember his. I know, like, for some reason certain names stick to me and some other ones don't. It's like Janeway sticks to me because she was the first woman captain, right?
Well, in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, there was an Asian captain.
Janeway's awesome.
Janeway's a war criminal.
I don't care. She's a rad war criminal. So is fucking Han Solo. He's still cool as hell.
Yeah. The actress is also crazy pants. But she's pretty good at Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, she plays the role pretty well.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with this Star Trek comic, Alan?
Yeah, I highly recommend it because
go on, sorry.
No, you go on.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm not personally super invested in Star Wars, so when you were talking there, I just didn't really have much to add to the conversation. But by the sounds of it, if you really do enjoy Star Trek, this is kind of the perfect comic book. The way you describe it is just so, like, you have such a reverence for it.
Yeah, it seems like it's pulling from everything, and it's like deep. Like, do you think you need to have like a deep Trek knowledge to be able to read this, or is it kind of like because it's like a different timeline? You'll miss some references, but you'll be okay.
Well, Q did show up in Deep Space Nine, so and like the Defiant ends up showing up, and they get Kirk, Uhura, Scotty, Sisko, and Odo, who, if you guys didn't know, I can't pronounce his last name, but it's the actor who voiced Mr. House in Fallout New Vegas.
That's how you get me. I know that guy.
And I think his last name is spelled or his full name is Rene Aberné. And he's basically a shapeshifter.
Oh, interesting.
He's not like the Undine, aka Species A472. For those Voyager fans out there, those three.
I was gonna say you're going like super deep cuts now.
That is a deep cut. You got
No,
bone
deep
there, buddy.
a deep cut would be
I mean, it's a pretty deep cut, man.
I feel like I have to Google that to even understand what you're talking about.
no a deep cut would be me going.
Yep,
My
go
brain-
deep into your brain.
No, a deep cut would be me just when my brain almost broke from seeing that. In the first issue, Picard is mainly a guest, is basically a guest on the Enterprise E, and the captain is basically Data.
What? He's fucking Data.
No,
Does your
I'm
company? I was gonna say, John, that's like a book that your company would sell, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's
But this-
interesting. To have Data as like a captain would be. All right, I think you just sold me. So I think anybody who's like a super Trekkie nerd or just like super
But
sci-fi.
the thing is, they didn't get it right because Data died in the this takes place.
Dude, you just said it yourself. Everything's fucking out of loop. The timelines don't matter.
What if it's
I know.
Data's twin brother?
No, he killed his brother.
David.
But maybe this is a different timeline.
David.
No,
David.
it's the
David
prime
too.
timeline.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that they'll explain
What
it.
if it was his brother? Dossier.
But I'm sure like there's almost no fandom as like crazy about like the little details as Trekkies. So I'm sure that there's going to be some explanation.
Oh, I also have just a financial deal that I stumbled upon.
All right, hit it.
Which is, if you've been in the Phantom Zone chat about that the DC universe struggling to find or get more subscribers.
Oh yeah, I saw that coming a mile away.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's how the WWE Network was. It takes some time.
WWE Network had like a bunch of other issues that they could have bit themselves on.
Yeah, like making
The pay-per-views on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why I got the network.
Yes, but that's the reason why they also suffered financially, is because their network kind of cannibalized them. Like it was cannibalizing them. The DC thing is like all the old stuff is amazing, and they are putting a ton of comics up there. Like I think I saw they had
That Action 1000.
yeah, they had Superman Unchained, like the whole series. And anytime there's new like shows or new stories coming up, they put like all of them up there.
Honestly, though, that's not what I kind of want. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
no, it's
the
like original
Superman,
programming.
like Superman. Well, no, it's like the comics I feel like I've looked at and saw what they had up there. It's like a lot of New 52 shit, which
Oh
I mean,
yeah, it's all the New
that-
52 stuff.
that ain't me, man.
I was
like,
gonna say,
it's like if they had like all of JLI or all of like the Josh Ostrander like Suicide Squad, and some like real classic like Marv Wolfman Teen Titans kind of run
they
stuff.
do have
but
some stuff.
Yeah, they do have like the Tales of the Teen Titans.
I was gonna say it's a kind of.
I'm not talking like bits and pieces. It's like I want to read through this entire like.
You want
like,
Marvel Unlimited?
run. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Well,
I don't feel like that's like too much to ask.
No, I do think it's coming. I do like the idea of like how they are on the app itself, the way they share them. Because right now, because of one of the new books that's coming out, Young Justice, which was one of the ones on your list that you're excited about, they put like a whole bunch of Young Justice from the 90s up on there this week.
And those books are good.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that like they're tying into stuff that's coming out is good. Just the catalog in general is not up to snuff. It kind of reminds me, and it's not but like gaming when like Xbox is doing their backwards compatibility stuff. Like it took a real long time to like build up that catalog.
but okay, so like on the flip side, like if we're talking about like video games, it's like you got like Nintendo that announced like its online service, $20 a year doesn't seem so bad. But and and they're like doing like they're putting out these games like on their service, so it seems like you get more bang for your buck. And it's like they're all just like this month they are like, oh, we're adding in Link 2 and Blaster Master, and it's like, and that's it. Like now they're like at this point they're just drip feeding you stuff, and it's like I want Punch Out, man. Like I want the Castlevania games, I want like this other stuff, but it's like they're doing the same thing they did on the Wii and the Wii U, where they just like they're
Trickle.
they're just trickling stuff at this
Yeah.
point, and it's like
Well-
I don't want to trickle. Like you have this amazing library of stuff. Like I feel like if you have a service in 2018 or 2019 now, and you have like Disney doing like their app at the end of the year, and you have all these other services doing their own apps, and it's like that pool of money is getting slimmer and slimmer for like people to like really diverse their money in. Like you would like want to like maybe start right off the bat with like this really bomb ass service.
Well, what I would say, if you want to get like a good subscriber base, you could do it and say like, hey, if you sign up for the app, you can get current comics like 3 weeks later.
That's a good deal. That's
Like
really
3
enticing.
weeks to a month later. Like it'd just be like a month behind. Like that would be worth the price alone. Like you would be saving a ton of money, and it really wouldn't be hurting them too much, because you would just sign up to be like, all right, like these are the books. Like I buy my books, but like maybe I'll check this out, and then maybe you like it, and then you would start buying that book, like the hard copy.
They would never do that because comic book stores get too pissed. Like
Yeah.
that's why
There's like 7 of them left.
You say that.
I'm saying that as somebody who goes to a brick and mortar.
Well, no, you say that, but it's like Marvel and DC are still like slaves. Like they're still like these multi-million billion-dollar companies, but they're still slavish to like Diamond and this old antiquated way of like doing stuff. Like that's why like last year, like Iceman and Wasp got canceled, and then the trades for those books were so high, like sales wise, that they brought those books back. But because you have a bunch of really bad, I tell most people like I think that 70% of the comic book stores in the United States are pretty garbage. Like those kind of stores didn't order those books, didn't promote them, didn't try and get new readers into their stores. Like they want the same thing that they've been spoon fed for decades, and those stores are slowly being weeded out.
Oh yeah, I went during the holiday. I went to a store by my in-laws, and they are closing after 20-something years. And I had a lot of other stuff going on. It's closing because the guys are retiring and no one wants to pick it up, which is a hard thing. But the stores kind of are basically, whoever's running them is the one that's ordering. So if they don't like certain things, they're also not going to order them.
Yeah, and I mean, when I worked at a store, I ordered a bunch of stuff that I didn't like as a reader, and I didn't see too much merit into it, Crossed or something. But we still had about 8 to 12 customers that liked Cross or picked up the trades for Cross. So I brought that stuff in because you need if they come in for Crossed, more likely they're going to also look around and maybe pick up something else.
Yeah, but then you also have the flip side.
That reminds me, we have to get Reverse Connor on this to have a talk. We need to have him talk about his experience reading Crossed.
You want me to just record a whole podcast about it and then just play it in reverse?
I've only read the first 6 issues of Cross, and I have not read anything else.
I think he read. I think Connor read more.
Yeah, I think he read a chunk of it. I was gonna say the other thing though, with the problem with the stores is, and this happened to my local store, and I was talking to the guy about it. But Batman Damned, he couldn't keep the first issue in stock, and I went in there and last week, and he had 20 of issue 2 there. That's just sitting there, and it's just gonna die, and they're just eating the money.
Yeah,
I think,
but here's the thing: it's you have it's like the stock market, guy. It's like,
Oh yes,
like
100%. But that's why,
number
like, compared
like
to other media, like comic books are so different.
like number one, if I still worked at my old store and I read about Batman Damned, it was like the first Black Label book that they showed the Bat Dick that had like this kind of big writer and artist attached to it. Like mainly the Bat Dick, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna order 50 of this book because I know there's going to be people who
Yeah.
are going to be curious to come and pick up that book.
And
then
there's going to be like trader like flippers that are going to buy it.
And then issue 2, I would have dropped it down to 20 because I was like, people come in for that massive hype, and you also read that book, and that book is not good, and you're like, okay,
it's not.
like this book's not going to retain really a whole lot of readers. And for me, I picked it up for the Bat Dick, and I was like, maybe it's good, and I read it, I was like, yeah, no thanks, I dipped out because I was like, it's not worth my time.
I'm exactly in the same space with you.
Okay,
Like, like when we like going back, like we picked up for like the master race, the
Frank Miller debacle.
Yeah, issue
I read
1,
all
like
that.
issue 1, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna probably like order 50, like because the owner was like, hey, like what would you order for this? I'm like, man, like I don't know, man, like I would order like maybe 50. He's like, I'm gonna order 70, and I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, like issue 1's gonna be super hot, but like, and I told him like we need to probably like lower them for like 2s and 3s because that book's gonna be super late, and like lo and behold, like we did that, and the book was late, and more people dropped off, and then we like had really good numbers for that book. As it's like you have to have your finger on the pulse of like what that industry is. You also have the finger on your pulse of your audience and not be reactionary, and like it's like if you do bad business decisions, like of course your business is going to fall.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. Like that's why everybody they do.
I have
the
the perfect title for this episode.
Bat Dick?
No. The gang steps on Allan.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what did you want to say, Allan?
All I want to say is that, but the news of DC books being available, certain DC books being on Comixology Unlimited.
Oh yeah, that's definitely like
there's a discount now for all DC books if you're a member of DC Universe.
Oh.
So normally books that would be $4.99 or $4.24, books that would be $3.99 or $3.39.
That's pretty good, like 60, 70 cents off. That adds up quick. It is an interesting thing that they like, even though that they started their own streaming service, that they are going to Comixology. That actually tells me that they're like really not confident in their streaming service that they're adding comics to. Because why would you?
Not just that. Certain comics, they'll have like one issue of the series on the app. For example, Crisis on Infinite Earths. They have the first issue, just that.
On DC Universe or on Comixology?
DC Universe. On Comixology, they have the whole thing.
See, that I don't get that. Like, that seems like a bad business move to me.
Another example. Books 1 through 4 or 52 are on there. They have maybe not even a tenth.
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, so maybe they are not seeing a drive to read the comics, or like, I'm sure that they can read all the stats on their app. So maybe people are just not reading comics on there, and maybe that's something they're seeing is like not driving subs.
Well, I mean, adding comics to the list is a good way to drive subscribers because that makes me interested now to go see, like, so I can go read these books.
Yeah, but you might not be the customer that you might not be the average customer. You might be the exception. Because I do think a lot of those apps, like, the people come for the video content, because I feel like this is kind of going a little bit off topic, but until like the last year, no one's really talked about the Amazon Prime like like TV shows, and like this year that kind of blew up, and I feel like that's kind of turning, like people are signing up for Prime to watch the video for the first time. I think this 2018.
Yeah, like my mom got Amazon to watch The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Yes, which is an amazing show. But yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like they originally got people for the Prime service. It's like, oh yeah, you also get this video service. Now they're getting people to buy into the video service, and I think that's what DC might be leaning towards, which I'm disappointed in.
Well, I mean, it's like I think that all goes back to, and I know that people seem to be like really into Titans now, but that still goes back to that original announcement of DC Universe and their streaming service, and they had this dog shit preview for Titans that, like, if you could have easily read the marketplace, it's like, yo dog, maybe not promote something that like reeks of like the worst Zack Snyder like
grimdark
bullshit. And it's like because it's like you look at like the success of like Wonder Woman and now the success of Aquaman being surprised the 5th highest grossing film of 2018. And like, you know, hopefully like that transitions into like people being into Shazam, because I think that movie looks pretty cool.
Of the two, that one looked more interesting to me. I would like to see the difference, because just Young Justice just came out this week, to see if there's a shift in their numbers.
I don't think that's enough. I think DC fans have a little bit too much stock into how many people actually kind of cared about Young Justice. Like, I think there's people who do care, and I'm not like trivializing that audience, but I think like the numbers of like what like the numbers that you want to bring in for that, like I'm excited for Doom Patrol, and I don't even think people are going to tune into the DCU for Doom Patrol. I'd be happily surprised, but like
it's a spin-off too, so like they kind of got a lot of the images out there.
Yeah, I think they need like a real fucking banger. Like Marvel on Netflix like dropped with Daredevil, and then, you know, they did, you know, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. You know, and they do stuff like The Punisher, which is also like super popular. But it's like they need like a real like B tier, like really good like character to do a show about. And it's like Swamp Thing is like that. It's fine. You know, Doom Patrol I think is fine. But they need like a heavy hitter, and I think in their initial lineup, like they don't have that heavy hitter yet.
Like, so if it was you, like, what do you, when heavy hitter, do you mean like as in a show, or do you need like a big character like Daredevil? Because I don't even know how big of a name Daredevil was at the time that show came out.
I mean, Daredevil had you already had Daredevil film, you know, and people know Daredevil from that. I think Daredevil was a very celebrated good comic for a, you know, very long time, because, you know, it's like you have the Frank Miller run, the Ann Nocenti run, the Bendis run, the Brubaker run. So it's like you have like a really good constant drive of like a lot of figures for that character. You know,
so is he like a B-list character to you, Daredevil?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So would a show like say instead they did Titans, if they did Nightwing, do you think that would have been a better move?
Yeah, kind of. You know, like I you know, and I like I think it's like if they'd done a show that was like Teen Titans, or like, you know, Titans, and was more reflective of like the cartoon Teen Titans, where it's not like goofy and like all that stuff, but it's like if you had like
the original show
Titans, and you launch with that original team, and it's them being like kind of semi-adult superheroes, I think that show would have really worked. But I think it's like in the way that they did it, where it's like fuck Batman, and like Hawk like cuts a guy's leg off. I'm just like, I don't understand who this show is made for, because it's aiming too high, I feel like, for the Teen Titans audience, and like the audience that would watch something grim and dark, I don't feel like would watch something like Teen Titans. So it's just like I just don't understand the demographic that they were trying to go after.
John, you forgot the part where they were gonna cut Hawk's penis off.
You're lying.
No, that actually there was they said that first they were gonna pull out his teeth, then said no, pull his pants down.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
That's
Well,
Also,
there's
Lou,
better.
you're a terrible person for what you just set up for what you typed.
Oh,
That
I
man,
just-
that man is the reason that Wally is a success, or was a success before his death.
I know. I'm just like, I don't know. It's my type of humor. Maybe we can actually talk about some comic books. Did Connor or John, did you want to talk about any of the books you have read or are going to read?
I can talk about some books I read over my break. I
Yes.
actually like read a lot of a manga while I was gone, because it was just like kind of easier for me to like sit down and just like kind of read stuff. So I read a book called Dead Demons Destruction, and it's a new sci-fi slice of life comic from Viz. A lot of people kind of know the creator, Ino Asano from. He did a book called Goodnight Pen Pen that won like a ton of awards over the last couple of years. You know, it's like if you look at like an awards show for comics and you looked at the manga section for the awards, you would always see Goodnight Pen Pen and 20th Century Boys or 21st Century Boys. And so this is the new series from that guy. And I initially thought it was just going to be like a sci-fi book, because it's basically about 3 years ago, this large spaceship appeared over Tokyo, and this like kind of big war happened, but it was like only on one side where like people were attacking the aliens, but the aliens were just kind of like hanging out, like they weren't attacking or anything. They're just hanging out on their ships, but the book is more about this girl named Koyama and her friend Nakagawa, and like their group of friends just hanging out in school, like dealing with like uh like human nature and growing up and love lives and just regular like slice of life. And it's kind of weird. Like it's like you would think, like, because it's like it's kind of almost set up District 9 in a way, like within its premise, but it doesn't even go that route. It's like the aliens are there, but it's just part of the setting. It's part of the backdrop. Like we're just going to do this regular kind of slice of life comic, and it's strange. Like I didn't know that that's where they were going to go with it, but it's by the end of the first volume, I was like, I could see myself like reading more of this. I really like the character designs a lot, and everyone's like super expressive, which is like always like my go-to for a comic. And yeah, I think it's like if you want to read like a good slice of life with some like like sci-fi kind of like built into it, kind of like a like Bebop, where you watch Bebop and it feels like just a regular show that has like a sci-fi backdrop. Dead Demons Destruction feels the same way.
Yeah, you saying Bebop just sold me.
Yeah, no, that's
I was talking about
it's
cowboy
like, and I say Bebop not in that it's a cowboy western that's heavily sci-fi. It's just it's like people existing in a world where there's sci-fi elements in it.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
really
just the world. Yeah.
The other manga I read, a couple volumes of, was this other slice of life book called The Delinquent Housewife. And it's like this really cute book about this guy named Toru who brings his wife Kamugi to his family to meet, like, you know, he's going to marry her, so he wants to, like, you know, have his soon-to-be wife like meet his family for the first time. And like while they're visiting, Toru gets like a call and he has to go off on business, so his soon-to-be wife like kind of has to hang out here with the family. and like one of the members that helps him out or helps her out is Toru's brother Dai, and Dai ends up finding out the secret that she used to be the head of like this badass like crew of like uh like like rebel biker chicks. Like he
Okay.
finds her like old gang jacket like underneath her bed, and he ends up like she ends up finding out that he knows, and it's like this secret that that they try and keep in between themselves because like their mother like is not like if she found out that she used to be this delinquent gangster girl, like she would probably like throw her out of the house. So before like Kamugi like basically like unveils a secret, she's like trying to become like this great wife. But it's like a comedy of errors kind of thing. Like Dai is maybe slowly kind of falling for this girl, or for his brother's soon to be wife. And it's super fun. Like I think the art's like really great, and I always really love the aesthetic of like Genki gangster girls, like specifically like Japanese gangster girls.
Yeah, I feel
so,
like you talked about another book with the same kind of aesthetic last week with Japanese gangster girls on motorcycles.
Yeah, I think this is the same book that
Okay.
like that I was like excited to read, and like since then like I've read like the first 3 volumes of it.
Oh wow.
And I think it's like pretty fun. Like I don't see this book maybe because I think it's like kind of has like that timetable premise where you can't have like this book go on for too long. But I think it's like been a pretty fun ride so far.
Man, it sounds cool. Like it's definitely. I feel like every episode I'm like, I need to read more manga, and then I don't.
Yeah.
And then I'm sad.
Yeah, it's nice that manga only comes out like once every 3 months, so it's like
Yeah.
you can kind of just pick up a book and then read it, and then just like wait another 3 months for the next one. The last book I read was Die #1 from Image. New book from Kieran Gillen, who wrote like Young Avengers, is currently the writer for The Wicked and Divine, a bunch of other stuff. And the artist is Stephanie Hans, who like I know her from like she worked on like an issue of Black Magic and bits and pieces of The Wicked and Divine for Image. But so basically like this book is set in the 80s or late 80s. Group of kids go and are gonna have like a game of D&D, and then they disappear for like 3 or 5 years, and then they like are just like found one day, and all of them are there except for one of the kids, and one of them is like missing an arm. And so the book is set in like modern day, where the kids are like basically get like their die in the mail sent to them, and so like the friend who might have went missing may not be missing at all, so they have to go back to the world. And it's a little Jumanji-esque kind of. Like the first issue I thought was fine. It's I think the strength of that book is like how cool like the other world is. And Kieran Gillen's like a really good story, like world builder and building mythology and having like pretty good stakes. And like Stephanie Hahn's art is I think like pretty fun. Like her covers are great. I know #2 comes out this Wednesday, and so I might check it out. I know like it's kind of a short week for me. Like I only think I'm picking up 3 books, so if I end up finding #2, I might pick up #2. I don't know if anyone else here took a chance on Die.
I did not read that, but it sounds interesting. It sounds like something I'd be into.
But yeah, that's kind of like everything I want to talk about that I've read.
All right, Connor, did you have anything that you've read or wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I got a whole list over the last couple weeks. I've read some books. We'll just kind of go over them. There are a couple that I want to spend a little bit of time on. First, I've never really stated publicly, but I've always kind of had a problem with slice of life kind of anime and books and comics and stuff like that because I don't find them very interesting. I like action and I like drama and stuff. I feel like for me, I need like a little bit of stake for a show or like a book or anything. But I came across this manga called Goku Fushudo, I think it's pronounced. And it's really turned me around on the whole concept. So much so that I got really into it. I read the first issue because that's all I could find that was translated. But I see images around, and it's a comedy. The idea is that it's all based around this former Yakuza husband who has retired and is just like a stay-at-home husband for his successful.
I'm looking at images of this book, and this book looks rad.
Dude, it's so cool. Its art is done just so gorgeous. Because it's like you get all these crazy, serious Yakuza style like images where it's this like cut up dude covered in tattoos, and he's like meticulously like sharpening knives, and then the next frame is him cutting up like these cute little sticky rice buns to look like bears, and he's taking like a little Instagram photo, and then he's packing it up for his wife. And his wife is gone, so he like puts it on a bike and drives it goes all the way to town. It's just this fun little side thing, and it's like each issue has like a little story to tell. And every time I get like a little snippet or like a couple pages that are translated, it's just fun. It's really good. And I would highly suggest that for anybody that's just looking for something like really relaxed with kind of really good art and a good sense of humor if the translation is done right. Other than that, I've pretty much been on my usual bullshit. I finished up Dark Knight Metal, like the core issues, and it is so much fun. It's like in the vein of like heavy metal, and its art is just so cool, especially like near the end when they start talking about like the nth metals and everything. And it's just like, it's all about. It's got like. I would equate it to like a Cadbury cream egg, if you have those in America.
Yes.
And like where it's got like this hard exterior where it's like brittle chocolate and it's like a very serious story about people losing and dying and a story being over. And on the inside, it's all about friendship and it's got this gooey center.
I found it to be like almost Snyder's like doing a cover or like a homage. It's a very homage-y kind of story.
It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like top to bottom, it looks great. All the enemies are unique, and the stakes are real. Like I really felt like things were still collapsing for everything, and it's still affecting the world. Like I'm reading The Batman Who Laughs, which is a great series, and I'm interested to see how he wraps into this whole thing.
Yeah, it's a perfect segue. Well, we can tie The Batman Who Laughs to one of the news stories. So in that issue, we've learned that there is another Batman from that kind of dark universe. And it was just announced that they are going to do a one-shot like they did with all the other one-shots for the Dark Batman. This is the Grim Knight. And we were talking a little beforehand, Connor, but like both of us kind of think that he might be a Deathstroke Batman.
Yeah, I think he's got like that assassin vibe to him.
Yeah, he's kind of Punisher-y.
Yeah, for sure.
And Deathstroke's the only kind of character in DC that I think could be Punisher-ish.
Yeah, like he's the counterpoint.
I'm not feeling this at all.
Oh, he's like when he appears, he's only in like one panel, maybe two, and he's
your classic grim dark, like anti-villain.
I've been meaning to read Metal at some point, and I probably will like this year because one of the podcasts I listen to is War Rocket Ajax, and they super loved it, and a lot of the things that they like I end up liking anyways. But it's like the idea of the Batman Who Laughs I feel like works in the event, but like I don't know, like I looked through that first issue of the Batman Who Laughs, and it's a very good looking book. But it's like I don't know like how long,
Oh, I think it's a very short run.
Well, not just like the run, but it's like I don't know like what the traction is personally for like a character like that's like, oh, like what if Batman was the Joker? You know, it's like, and I'm like, cool, that's 5 issues. Like let's not go super ham with this. And then the Green Knight's like, what if he was the Punisher? And I'm like, yo, dog, I don't need like. I don't feel like I need like so many different Batmans who are like, what if he was a killer in my life?
Well, that's like the whole gist of metal. Like the metal villains is like
a dark multiverse.
It's a dark multiverse, so it's like who is the most? Especially, I think it's a very Snyder doing Morrison, which I know is like a big influence for him. So it's like who is like the most badass? Like it's the whole Bat God thing. Well, what if Batman got this thing? So we've like seen mini stories of like Batman with like the Green Lantern ring or this. It's like, well, what if that was turned on its head? And, you know, the Brother Eye thing where he takes over, he has all the ways to defeat the Justice League. What would those Bruces or Batman look like? Although one of them is not Bruce. So it is interesting. And like each of the one shots are the best parts, I would say, of Metal. Like the Red Death. And actually, I think my favorite one is the Cyborg one. I can't remember his name. Is it like Killing Machine or something? I don't remember. But the Cyborg one is probably my favorite version of like the evil Batman. And his one shot is glorious. And it's like heartbreak.
Yes.
But yeah, like I can't wait for that book to come out. Like I completely understand your feelings, John, but like I would say like give it a chance. Like
I think it might be like one of those things where like once I read Metal, I'm like, okay, I'm on board.
Yeah, I would say it's not a serious take. It's almost satirical in its representation of these ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think most people would kind of dig it. It kind of reminds me of like a horror movie that's like so bad, like it's so ridiculous.
It's like a Sam Raimi horror movie. It's just like over the top, turned to 11. It's goofy good.
Yeah, there's like a point where I think it's a Green Arrow, Nightwing, Robin, and I can't remember who the fourth person is. They're literally wearing like Game of Thrones outfits because it's
for sure. They meet at the bar at the end of the thing, and they have drinks. There's a drink called the Nightwing. It's so weird. It's just weird. I really dug it.
Yeah, it's very Morrison. It's very like that trippiness, but it's like Snyder doing it, and Capullo's also are, and the tie-ins are all pretty good, and it is still continuing. Like I think the Batman Who Laughs, the Justice League book that came out at the same time ties directly into it, which is like the whole setup of like why there is the conflict that's in that book.
Okay, that's cool.
So I would suggest to pick up, I believe it's the regular Justice League because there's like 4 of them right now, but it's just the plain one.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, the regular Justice League is the one that ties into it.
Okay. I was hoping someone could answer this question.
It's not going to be me.
It's most likely going to be Lou. Because like I'm still trying to catch up on Justice League because it's
just being honest,
because for some reason it's really easy for me to catch up with. I mean, I like everything I'm hearing about it from what Scott Snyder is doing. Where did Starman come from? Like, how did he get to
a portal? Like
he literally walked. Well, he literally walked out of a portal.
Yeah, he fell out and is like, "Stop! You're doing things," blah, and like goes into a coma. And they kind of figure out that I'm trying not to like. I'm dancing around like some more. So this entire time since he showed up, he's still in a coma.
Which Starman?
The original.
Wait, Ted Knight or Jack Knight?
Ted Knight. I'm pretty sure. And basically they reveal, I think there was like the issue that there was some time travel by another character, and that is why he shows up, because he escaped a he was imprisoned by a character, and that's why he's in a coma. But my favorite part of that Justice League book is Batman's new sidekick, who's rarely shown, but when he is, he steals whatever he's in.
Signal?
No, Jarro.
What?
So Jarro is a piece of Starro that Batman has saved and is
Please
racing,
don't.
and he's in a jar, and he literally refers to Batman as Dad.
Oh, that's weird.
It's weird, but it's awesome, and like Batman's like very protective of him, and it's like a very interesting because it's like there's like a bunch of stuff that went on, like the whole kind of I can't remember what it's called, that kicked off this like current split of the Justice League teams is like all
No Justice.
Yeah, No Justice kind of kicked off. That is when Starro, like the Jarro thing kind of happened. And it's just really interesting. And whenever Jarro is in the thing, he's like, he just steals whatever, because he just has like all his lines are pure comedy. Like that's all they're played for. So it's just been interesting.
Speaking of No Justice, this could be why don't we segue to the next story?
Oh, DC canceling Green Arrow?
Yeah, because in this solicitation, or at the end of No Justice, Martian Manhunter gives Ollie a mysterious box that could defeat, or that could basically it's a weapon of mass destruction.
Well, they don't say
cool.
they don't say what it is. It's like the size of like a cigar box. Like it's really tiny,
but it's really, really important. Like something that could.
Yeah, Manhunter's basically like to Oliver, like, you're not part of the league, but there's a reason you're not part of the league, and it's because that like we need somebody in case stuff goes wrong. And then when they're going to show you what it is, he is going to Roy, and Roy's dead because of Heroes in Crisis. Which I read the 4th issue and meh. At best.
Yeah, nothing
happened. That's the whole thing. Is like, right, Allan? Do you read it?
Yeah, the only thing that happened was
Batgirl.
Well, I didn't like that ass shot.
Well, yeah, that's another
that seemed
topic.
No, it's not.
I mean, like, yeah. The story-wise, it's meh, but yeah, the art in it is a little weird.
I mean, nothing against Clay Mann, but it just didn't. I mean, you get some. I mean, apparently,
the whole issue is really wonky, and it's the new design, her new suit, where like the bat ears are like coming out through her hair. So she's wearing kind of like a it's not the full cowl thing where like her hair is coming out of the bottom. It's more of like a mask. It's more like Batwoman, except that she has the ears coming out from like in the middle of her hair.
I like the redesign that they had for her in the main Batgirl book, but like when I see the Batgirl costume in other books, like flipping through other books, I'm just I'm not a fan. But then again, like I know that like a lot of people didn't like the Batgirl Burnside costume. I really loved it. But I feel like the reason why they changed the comic or they changed her costume is because they wanted her to be more prominent in like Heroes in Crisis and stuff. They wanted to give her like more like quote unquote serious costume. So
yeah, like I was not somebody that was like Burnside was not something I was into, but I was fine. Like I understood. I liked the run before that. The Gail Simone run was like one of my favorite Batgirl runs, and that suit was kind of just the basic suit. So like I'm fine with them moving away. This is more of like her in a gray and blue suit, I think. And the ears are, I don't know. I just don't care. Like it's different, and I don't know why. Like I don't know why it's so different and not interesting.
To be honest, there's only 2 things I liked about it, issue 4, and that was the whole thing with Batgirl and Harley.
And can I guess the other?
Yeah.
Is it the Blue Beetle stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, Blue Beetle is awesome in the book. And it's the original Blue Beetle, Ted Cord.
Well, no. It's the second Blue Beetle. The original Blue
Well,
Beetle
yeah.
is Dan Garrett.
It's the Blue Beetle. Anybody? Well, it's the. No one cares about that.
It's the more well known.
Yes, it's the blue and gold Blue Beetle, and they even say blue and gold, which is awesome. But the book was okay. Like it was fine. Like not enough happens where it's interesting.
Well, no, there is something that I didn't like. I didn't like the way the scene in the when Superman is talking about the story that Lois has been, or
the ending of it.
Not necessarily the ending, but the way Bruce acts, or the way Bruce acts to Clark.
It's a little childish. I can understand why that would be annoying, but like Bruce should react like upset, but he should be. The way they write him is that he's like almost having a temper tantrum.
Yeah, he
literally says like, "I'm about to go punch the dinosaur."
He's very literal, you know? You gotta just give him that.
It ties in like when they first started off, like Wonder Woman comes in and she flips the penny and like throws it down the cave. So like Superman's like, "Oh, I have something to say," and he's like, "Hold on, let me put the dinosaur away," before she punches that. I don't know. This story is very meh. To kind of segue into this,
which I feel like is like super disappointing, given that like Tom King ain't like no slouch. Like Mr. Miracle was like probably one of the best series of last year.
Oh, I love that book. It was so good.
And his Batman is like been pretty fun, and the Vision was great, and Sheriff of Babylon was great. So it's just like it's very odd. Like I'm not reading it, but it's like very odd to see like this is the outcome of the book that he is like putting together.
The pacing of the story is very weird because it's a lot up front and then it's like a lot of nothing. And then this entire issue felt like filler. I just felt like an issue where nothing is going on. Like it's like kind of set up, but like to what we don't know. I don't know. I just didn't care for it. The only other book like that I read that I was interested in talking about was Freedom Fighter #1. So this is the first DC book with the kind of bringing back like the Uncle Sam and like the Nazi universe.
So okay, so like because I did not read like any of this. I'm familiar with the Freedom Fighters, but like I heard that they were bringing them back. I was like, man, I don't know, man. So like the team is like Uncle Sam, I assume the Ray.
No, the Ray's dead.
Yeah, all the Freedom Fighters are, as you know, are dead. A new team has to rise.
I did not know the rest of the Freedom Fighters are dead. Did they?
Yes, they start off with actually it's like a really brutal book. So like a bunch of them are dead. They're having a meeting, and then basically the meeting is infiltrated, and the agents of it's really weird. So like the leader of the resistance, like the #2 is Jesse Owens, like the real life human.
Okay.
The Olympian. And then the kind of Nazi hit squad are all plastic men. So they just like come out of nowhere. But the group is I think it's the Human Bomb.
Like Phantom Lady.
Yeah. It's like they show a group in the beginning and they actually all end up getting captured. And then we are introduced in like the very last panel to like the new team. And it's like different versions. Because it's like, is it Blackhawk or Black Condor? I think it's Black Condor.
I was scared you were gonna go in a bad direction.
Dude, no. For a second, like you said Blackhawk, and I was like, is it Zinda? Because like I would have go buy that book today if it was Zinda.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up who it is because I don't remember. I don't have the book in front of me. But they kill off like a group of them, and they kill them off I was gonna say on screen, but like they draw how they kill them, and it is beyond brutal.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good to me, man.
No, yeah, but like it's kind of like a way, and then they cut to we get like a couple of pages of like current day, and there's like kids playing with a baseball, and like one of the like a lieutenant, like I don't know what the positions in the military, but like comes up and like hatches out of the air, and they're like, baseball was the American pastime, and like takes it's like go back to your homes, and then it's like we need to double the security, and then they're in like the museum of when they killed, like they built a museum on top of where they killed the freedom fighters, and then it blows up, and then we see like
that's one way to salt the grave, you know, just like, oh, we killed you, and here's a museum.
yes. And then we get introduced to the new freedom fighters. So what's interesting is like how they are writing, like the way Uncle Sam is, he's kind of ethereal. Like he's a character and he's there, but they're like, he's an idea. It's hard to explain. Like he kind of like vanishes. So the beginning of the book, like the first 3/4 takes place like during World War II. And then the rest of it takes place like current day.
Oh God, I'm like looking at the creative team and I'm like, yeah, no thanks. It's like Robert Ben. It's written by Robert Bendenti, who, I like. People like his books. I don't knock him, but it's like he just like I feel like he writes like just the most below average, like the below average like kind of books. Like he's the guy who took over for Green Lantern when Jeff Johns
and turned it into Hal wearing a duster.
Oh no, he's that guy.
Yeah,
and I'm not even like I'm not even a Jeff Johns guy, and I was like, I don't understand this book. Like he wrote New 52 Flash. He took over for
and Brian Porcolato.
Well, no, I was gonna say he took over for Demon Knights, which was a super great book, and then he took over for it. It just became super bad, and it got canceled. But then the art is done by Eddie Barrows, who's just not great. Like, you know, it's like he did Earth 2, World's End. He did a whole lot of Nightwing, New 52, Martian Manhunter, New 52.
He also did Gates of Gotham.
Yeah, Teen Titans, New 52.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I picked it up because it was the first issue. I wanted to give it a chance, and it's fine. Like, it's not... Like, it's a first issue, so it's like, it's whatever. Okay, compared to the, like, first, like, last week was kind of like a drought for me and, like, stuff that I really like. Tomorrow is the day when there's, like, a bunch of good stuff that I read coming out. So you have, like, the third issue of Grant Morrison's Green Lantern. I picked up on your recommendation, Martian Manhunter #1, so number 2 comes out next week. That I really dug.
Yeah, that book is capital A-R rad. Like,
yes. So it's basically John Jones is like a street detective and has a partner, and they're trying to solve like these like homicides of like families. It's interesting, and it's kind of like Law and Order-y, but he's still John Jones. It's cool. I really like it. The art's interesting. I like the idea when they were showing the flashback to Mars, like how they kind of were like, oh, you can kind of choose like there's like your real self, and then there's like your public self, and like changing your shape was like an aspect, and that John wasn't really that great of a person.
Yeah, when I first saw the solicitation or the news story or the announcement of the book or the miniseries, it would be set in both present day or present DC universe, and then flashbacks to Mars, where he's sort of investigating a murder, and that's like the same time.
Yeah, he's investigating a murder, but he's also kind of like he's not like a regular cop on Mars because he is like a manhunter. So he's more like, I don't even know how you would describe him. He's not like FBI, but he's like
the CSVU.
No, he's like some sort of like higher up, almost like military police. But like, I don't know, the interesting stuff I think has to do, to me, besides like the murder investigation, which I like, is like how they are interpreting Martian culture is really interesting.
Yeah, it's also super interesting. And then also you get to see some couple pages of
Martian
Martian Manhunter and his time with his wife and kid, and then you just get this super buck wild page of Martian Manhunter's wife like having like Martian sex, and it's fucking mind blowing. It's so good, and I'm not talking like in a delinquent pervert way. Like,
oh no, like the
it's just
concept
like
of
the
how Martians have sex
the,
is so interesting.
the concept, the way it happens, the way it's drawn, it's like blew my mind. Like that
And they,
book is.
I think also the discussion they have afterwards about like creating children is like an interesting aspect too.
Yeah, like no, like that, and like I like books that are just go super wild with like it's superhero stuff, and I hope that like I'm gonna check out like issue 2 of Martian Manhunter, and like hopefully like that book, because like I really love Mr. Miracle, and the book ended, and I feel like there's like a void in my life that I
Well, they
need
did
to
say
like fill it.
they are doing a second series or a second volume of Mr. Miracle.
Well, that's fine, but like for currently right now, I need like something that kind of like fills that same kind of hole, and like I feel like Martian
This is
Manhunter,
definitely
the team on Martian Manhunter is like not on like I feel like the level of like what DC is like willing to kind of promote. But I feel like if issue 2 is really good, like this is like Martian Manhunter could be like a book that's as big as Mr. Miracle. But like I fear that there's like going to be like DC's not going to get behind it as much as they did with Mr. Miracle, and like I think it's going to be like one of those really good sleeper hits of 2019.
yeah, I hope so.
You're not interested in female Furies?
No, I'm
Furries?
super excited for that.
Oh, I think that the sequel to Mr. Miracle.
I actually have no idea if Female Furies is gonna like tie into.
I feel like
Furies.
yeah,
but like
they announced some
Furries.
book that was wait.
yeah, like no, like yeah, that Female Furies book I'm super Jones for. It's written by the same writer who did Shade the Changing Girl and Shade the Changing Woman, who I thought was like super underrated book, like got canceled. More people should have read Young Animal. I'm still sad to this day, but I'm glad that they're on a book like Female Furies, and I think that book's going to be super cool. Like I think Female Furies is like one of like the coolest aspects of the New Gods.
Oh yeah, they are an interesting group, and I did enjoy how they handled them, how they were handled in Mr. Miracle.
Yeah, like
And that concept
like,
would be interesting to go forward with.
Like the whole entire scene when they're in the hospital and the Furies
that's the
just,
best.
the Furies and Scott are just hanging out in the emergency room, and Bernadette like presents him the dagger. She's like, use this to cut the cord, but rest assured that one day we'll use this dagger to plunge it into you and kill you. And he's like, cool, thanks a lot.
Well, he's like, his character in that is like the best because he's just like, he's so nonchalant with everything.
Yeah.
I guess to weirdly transition, my last book that I'm looking forward to is, I don't know if anybody's seen the Batman King of Fear. Anybody else been reading that or looked at it?
I'm looking it up right now.
So this is the last issue. This is number 6 of the miniseries. And basically, to kind of sell you on the series, Scarecrow breaks out, blah, blah, blah. But it actually turns into, like, he's having a therapy session with Batman, both in costume. He gives him the most powerful version of his fear toxin. And, like, each issue is kind of breaking through and, like, making Batman kind of say out loud, like, the issues and, like, his psychoses. And then in the 5th one, like, the big reveal was kind of that Batman seeing what Gotham would be without him, or what Gotham would be without Batman if, like, Bruce took all of his money and tried to build Gotham into, like, what it could be. And it's kind of like, you don't know, like, both you and Batman don't know what is real, what's not. And basically, they're literally in, like, a psychiatrist's office.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, like, really wonky and trippy. And you, like I said, you don't know what is real and what's not. And it's this Scarecrow is like, yeah, once we're done with this thing, once it wears off, take me back to Arkham. Like, I don't care. But, like, I want to work through this and actually be a therapist to you. Because I'm, like, the only person that can understand you. And it's really weird and interesting. I like the Scarecrow as a character. He's probably my top 5 Batman villains. So I really think it is an interesting take on the two of them.
Yeah, I'd say he's in my top 5. Yeah, and it's drawn by, Kelly Jones, who's,
Oh yeah,
had a whole lot of years on Batman.
The art is really good. It definitely like takes advantage of the story to like be like the Scarecrow. You could kind of do wild and crazy stuff. And the other thing that's interesting, they do a lot of the long-eared Batman.
Yeah,
which I know some people are not super fans of, but it is.
I understand that's his look. I'm not a long-eared Batman guy.
I'm not usually either, but
I don't like long ears. My personal take.
But I mean, like, he makes it work.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. Like, a lot of the action in the book is not actually happening, and then it'll cut, and Bruce is just like, or in Batman's just like on the floor, just like rolling around, being like, "What the hell is going on?"
Can I talk about the one main book I'm really excited to read tomorrow?
Sure.
The next issue of Alien 3.
Oh, we were talking about that before you jumped on. I was not sure when it was coming out.
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow.
I also saw that there's like another Alien series that's ending tomorrow. That I think it was done by Gabriel Hardman.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys were reading that at all.
I have no idea what that is.
Gabriel Hardman, he was doing like a mini series for Alien. I thought it ended a couple months ago, but it must have been late. But I guess that's ending. But I feel like it kind of got overshadowed by the Stoko run on Alien, and and this current Alien 3 book.
Yeah, I've been like, because of your recommendation, Alan, I picked up the first 2, and I absolutely fell in love with that new Alien book. I will definitely be picking that up tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll probably pick that up on Friday. I accidentally, because I'm an idiot and I have instant purchase on Comixology, I bought the Vision collection while you guys were talking. Out of nothing you said, I was just wondering if you recommended it to me.
Yeah, have you not read The Vision?
Sorry, you cut out there for me. Can you say that again?
Have you not read The Vision?
No, this is like it. I just saw it was highly rated, so I just bought it. Bought all 450 pages. $12. Fuck it.
That's not bad.
It's not a bad price.
Just wait till you get to the hopping. The hopping.
Don't
No. If it's a wild ride, I want to be there for it.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say who does it.
Don't even say anything about it.
Because it's just batshit crazy, that series.
Cool. That's all I need to hear, because that's what I loved about Metal. It's so fucking weird. It made no sense to me half the time, so it was great.
I will say this. Don't go into The Vision expecting like absurd like Metal was. Like Metal is like, like, again, I haven't read Metal, but it's like the things I've seen about Metal, it's super absurd and over the top. Vision's not over the top. It's not absurd. It's crazy. It's a wild ride, but like, don't go in expecting something that's like super over the top.
Yeah, I'm definitely not expecting Metal levels, because that was like a universe-changing thing. This seems more like a single story that just kind of connects to a couple different people.
It's a little bit more of an intimate story.
Okay, I'm interested in that.
It's also a little autobiographical.
Really?
I mean, like the idea that like
Tom King.
Yeah, the idea that like Tom King, former guy who used to work for the CIA, like a lot of his books that he usually talks about or like that he writes are allegories for his, like while he was working for the CIA. That's why like Sheriff of Babylon is such a personal story to him. The Vision, Mr. Miracle, and Heroes in Crisis are all kind of like within the same family of him, being in war, coming back from war, dealing with like the after effects of war. So like that's like the kind of like feel for like those books.
Okay, that's a really cool take on a story that I never imagined I would hear. So I'm very interested to like dive in and read this and go through and read some more Tom King books.
There's also, I don't know, I keep forgetting when it officially launches, but there's another book in the Young Justice. I forgot what they're calling that lineup.
Is it the Young Justice? I know what you're talking about. The one where it's like it's Wonder Twins, Young Justice,
Naomi,
and there's a fourth one, I think.
But I'm interested in Naomi based on the solicitation, and also David Walker is working on some of it.
Yeah, and that guy's good.
Yeah. Also, Bitterroot next issue comes out tomorrow. For those, I know John knows, but
so should I get into like what I'm excited for tomorrow?
Yep.
So issue 7, By Night, comes out, written by John Allison, art by Christine Larson, Sarah Stern, Jim Campbell. It's from Boom Studios. It's from the writer of Giant Days, one of my favorite books of the last couple of years. Really excited to kind of see that keep on going. Number 1 of Captain Marvel, from Kelly Thompson, who I think is personally to me the best writer in comics right now. Like every book she writes, I'm like super interested in and excited for. She's currently also doing Mr. and Mrs. X for Marvel Comics. She's also doing West Coast Avengers for Marvel. She just got done doing part 1 of Nancy Drew for Dynamite. So I think like a lot of her stuff is really fun. The art is by Carmen Nunez Carino, who also worked on like the Bombshell stuff, and that stuff has been like pretty good. And I've heard like kind of good things about like a lot of the Captain Marvel stuff over the last year and a half, but I think like post or like like pre and post Civil War 2,
oh my god,
I think that character has been kind of like
abused.
Not abused. I like directionless. I think is the word. So I think Kelly Thompson with like the new movie coming out, I think it's like a really good jumping on point. I'm really kind of excited to see like Kelly Thompson's voice in this character. Like, and I kind of want to see like what they are going to do with this character going forward. The other book, I'm kind of excited to read. Like, I'm not really sure. Like I like these characters, I'm not like a Bendis guy, but like I'm excited to kind of see like what this is. It's Young Justice number 1, art by Patrick Gleason, who I really love. Like he did a bunch of Batman and Robin, Green Lantern Corps, did some stuff with like Superman and Action Comics, like one of those books, but like I think he's like Superman, like I think he's like super great. Kind of underrated. Like he's always been like I think like one of those really good artists that's always been around. Like always kind of seems to find himself on like B books. So I'm kind of excited to see him on like what I hope DC treats as an A-list book.
Rather than the actual Teen Titans book, which is a mess.
Oh god.
Yeah, and hopefully like Young Justice is like, because I read Teen Titans and it's written by Adam Glass and it reads like a book written by a 50-year-old dude because he's 50-year-old dude, and it feels like a guy who just like doesn't have his pulse on like the youth. and for all the like, for the stuff like I'm kind of like not really a fan of Bendis of. At least like that kind of guy. At least that guy kind of gets writing young people sometimes. And the team seems pretty cool so far. The team seems to be Superboy and his awesome leather jacket.
Oh, the like 90s
from
one?
the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, which Superboy is this? Is this John?
No.
No, it's Connor.
Oh, it's Connor.
Connor.
That's my name.
There's so many goddamn Superboys.
There's like
There's at least 3. There's John, there's John, Connor, and Con.
We don't talk about New 52 Superboy.
That's
not needed.
technically kind of the version that's in Young Justice.
Well, he looks a lot cooler here.
Yes.
So yeah, it's Connor Kent, it's Cassie Sandsmark, Tim Drake, Impulse, and Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, who I fucking love. I'm so glad.
I was so mad when that book got canceled because it was so interesting.
Well, and the thing about it is, so they did Sword and Sorcery, like Princess of Gemworld, and I was just like kind of reading it. I'm like, this, like, I get it, but like, I don't feel like this is the tone you need for Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, and then they put her into New 52 World's End, where it's like she has this cool look, but it's like again, she's in a book that's just really dark and gross, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah. I'm trying to remember the last. I think she was in like Justice League 3000, which was another New 52 book that was not good.
She was actually a key part in what eventually in New 52 Futures End, which was ultimately just to set up to bring back Batman Beyond.
Yeah, and not even Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond. It was like,
Tim
we're
gonna
make Tim Drake Batman Beyond. I'm like, who wants this?
Nobody.
I did like her and Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yes, that team was cool.
So like, it's like, again, at the end of the day, it's like I feel like she keeps on being, and I think it's like a main part of like the New 52 trying to be like dark and grim and gritty. So like it's really nice to see, I feel like putting Amethyst in a team of other teen heroes, and hopefully like that's like a character I think can really flourish with a new audience. Because like also if you haven't ever watched them, there was a group of like 3 short cartoons done for DC Nation about Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, done by the character designer for HeartBG, which is this really great online comic that was super rad, that never got picked up, but I feel like kind of captured the tone of what I feel like a modern like Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld book should be.
I think that is on the DC Universe app because they have all those one-shots.
Yeah, all those like DC Nation like short cartoons are really good, and you should watch them all.
I'm trying to think. There was a Plastic Man.
Yeah,
there's the infamous Animal Man one.
Yeah, Super Best Friends Forever is great. Those Wonder Woman ones are really good. There's a Shade one that's great, but like I digress. So like the team's like Connor Kent, Superboy, Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, Cassie Sandsmark, Tim Drake, Impulse, and then we got 2 new characters. There's Teen Lantern, and Jenny Hex.
Okay, I saw the Teen Lantern, so it's just like another person. I'm guessing these books are like out of. Well, DC continuity is kind of wonk anyway, but
so like the synopsis for Teen Lantern is she is this young teenage girl who hacked a Green Lantern ring to get it to work for her, which I think is like
so super fucking cool.
Which I think is a super cool idea. And then Jenny Hex, who like is this young cowgirl.
Okay, so she's Jonah Hex's great granddaughter.
Or maybe she's just a Jonah Hex enthusiast, Either way, like
actually, I hope for that more.
Either way, like I think the team's pretty rad. I'll definitely like check it out, and and hopefully it like because it's like I think there's been like a really good there hasn't been like a really good teen comic or like a young reader's book at DC for a very long time. So like hopefully Young Justice like really like kind of fills that crack.
Yep.
Inject crack straight into my throat.
So I think we can close out this episode. Guess we can do a quick round of plugs for everybody. Connor, do you want to start before you fall asleep?
Yeah, you got it. Don't worry. No, that was more of just kind of like a slight warning. I just had a long day. I'm here to finish this thing out, which I will help along by doing the plugs now. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at SystemMonitor1. On Instagram at maybe Connor. I write for the Lost Horror. When I can, I write for the Lost Horror. I have a article I will upload at some point, talking about the best games I played last year, 2018. Not the best games that came out in 2018, because I feel like that's already been done by some better writers on the site. And I kind of want to just write about some dumb games I played with some friends and some good ones. And then
Emmett kind of one-upped everyone by writing.
Yeah,
by covering like 15
really
games.
Good game list, and I was like, yeah, I had a list of like all my favorite games of last year, and he covered all of them with like much more style than I could. So I thought, fuck it, I'll just write about things I liked instead. And then at some point in early 2019, I hope to have the review of Kingdom Hearts 3 done. I will do probably the same thing I did with Red Dead Redemption 2 and kill my enjoyment for the game doing it. But I will do it to review it to tell you guys about it. Other than that,
Connor,
I'm all good.
at least you didn't do what I did.
What's that?
that was perfect timing. So while Connor's been taken away, John, do you want to give your quick plugs?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at John JOHN _FN _Seiler SEILER. You can also find me on Instagram at John FN Seiler. It's usually my handle in most places I go. So, have no cons coming up. So I guess I don't know. The only thing I want to plug is like go watch Mob Psycho 100 season 2. It just started up yesterday. It's very good. If you want like a anime that's just like fucking bonkers and has like possibly like gonna be like one of the best looking shows of the season, there you go.
Cool. I like a good stylish anime.
All right. For me, again, I would say go to Lost Horror. It's losthorror.wordpress.com.
Thank you.
what?
I didn't want to do it.
You know,
Thank you.
for once, I'm gonna step on your foot.
Yep.
Oh.
Go ahead, Allan.
No, I just want to tell Connor, in my top 5 games I played of last year, I chose to put a game that came out in 2016. So,
Oh, dude, I'm putting a game that came out in 2003 in my top 5.
I mean, my favorite game of last year kind of technically isn't like a full game, so it's Deltarune, because I think that's the best game I played all year.
That game was really sweet.
and
Yeah, that was a
to
really
make-
good one.
to make things even, and as if I was like digging my own grave for the readers to shoot me, so I'd fall in magically. It wasn't just a game that came out in 2016. It's a text-based wrestling game.
What?
Oh, why? Well, you
What?
can check. You can check that out at Lost Horror Games.
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
Me and Allan also do a podcast that comes out every Tuesday where we watch Smallville. This week's episode, Cam, who's part of Lost Horror, joined us as we watched the first episode that featured Christopher Reeve.
Thank God you
good
didn't
one.
do the
It
reads.
was, yes, you yelled at me last time. So it was an awesome episode. Check that out. Also, me and Allan do a show with Gary that comes out every Thursday on Lost Horror. It's called Legion of Toon. All are welcome to join whenever they would like. Where we watch and review old cartoons, old and current. The last one that came out was the Clerks cartoon.
Don't listen.
No, listen, download, subscribe. You don't have to listen. Don't watch the show. Listen to our podcast.
Yeah,
I've done both.
like, okay, so I wasn't on the podcast. I recently rewatched the Clerks cartoon.
It is not good.
It has not aged very well.
Yeah, that's our entire thing. We're like, oh, let's watch it for nostalgia. And then it was like, oh.
Oof.
They're like,
The only good joke, the only funny thing happens is like the first thing that happens in the show. Is the whole and by that I'm talking about the whole is it safe?
Oh, is it safe? Yes, that's the best.
I actually really like it's also the first episode, but the reoccurring joke of them climbing up the building and the pot plant falls and like, why are we walking like this?
That is good too. And I like Lando. I'm trying to now I just lost my train of thought. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to all the podcasts. Find them on YouTube, iTunes, when you listen to it right now. So wherever you subscribe, again, losharo.wordpress.com.
Or you can just go to losharo.wordpress.com. And
Yes.
Either or.
Either or. So, or you can just sub from there.
So I'll just say Losharo. Search on all your things.
Sub for sub.
Yes. And don't forget to join the Facebook groups.
Did I plug anything?
Do you do anything that I'm also not on?
Yeah, Alan. What's up?
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
Oh yes, I didn't say your podcast that you do.
Podcast I do with Emma Watkins Jr. And sometimes if he bothers to show up, Hunter Davenport. The Lazaro Games podcast, which is less than 50 plays away from 600 plays total. Which I still don't understand how we're getting these insane numbers. I'm kind of scared.
I don't know. I've been on a couple of times, and every time I'm on, somehow we go to like almost 3 hours. But
the most recent episode, the last episode, or the episode you were on, was nearly 3 hours.
I'm a chatty Cathy.
Chatty cat.
Oh, and when this goes up, episode 2 of Star Trek Evolution, LSR Games original series will be up. Well, not really as a original series, more of a non-commentary LP of Star Trek Online. So,
yep. But I think if anybody else doesn't have anything, we could close out this episode.
I am good.
What the hell was that?
That was Connor closing the door on this podcast.
Yeah, that's my chair. I'm sorry. It's very squeaky today. It's very cold and it's influencing everything in my life.
It's fine. I guess we will catch you guys on next week's episode. Adios.
I love you still.
Bye.
And now, comics.